just really for our audience. But one thing to remember is that the core question in even defining are you disabled within Social Security is kind of at a fundamental level is can you work, right? And how they kind of look at that is can you work and perform substantial gainful activity? And so, they're not saying you can't work at all. They're just saying, hey, look, you can't work and make up to, if you're for non-blind people, make up to $1,550 per month. Well, good morning, Isabella. How are you?
I'm good, Peter. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, Happy New Year and happy holidays. Huh?
Yeah. 2024, a lot of changes coming up.
Yeah, well, we took a little break from doing some podcasts just through the holiday season, and with the new year here, there's always, not only do we look at like personal changes and goals for the year with the firm and our individuals and what our employees are hoping to accomplish within the firm so that we can better service our clients and add value. But we also have to look at what are the major changes or, changes within Social Security that might affect those who are pursuing disability or who are already on a disability case. And as one of the lawyers in our firm, I've asked you to kind of sit with me today. That way you can present some of the changes that just took effect on January 1st or may take effect later in the year. So why don't we have that conversation so we can inform what are the new changes for Social Security in 2024?
Of course. So first thing I'll talk about is SSI changes. And again, this is Supplemental Security Income. So this is the program Title 16 of Social Security Act. Basically, that is based on your assets. And so the first thing that has changed in terms of SSI is basically how much you are going to receive at a maximum per month. And so as you remember, 2023 was $914 per month is the maximum that an eligible individual could receive. And now it's $943. So there was a little bit of a jump there from 2023 to 2024.
Right.
So yeah, that is for an individual. And of course, it's also changed for eligible spouses as well. So for an eligible spouse and an eligible individual for SSI amounts, the new 2024 maximum that you could get is $1,415.
Correct. And just as a recap, when you're going for SSI, that is the needs-based program. It's the program that doesn't require you to work and pay credits into SSI or Supplemental Security Income. So that's why they just say, here's the number. And what we're talking about is the maximum you can get. Were there any other changes within SSI that just really jumped out at you other than the monthly maximum increase?
No, that was the biggest change from 2023 to 2024 for SSI.
Perfect. So one of the things that they need to remember, if there hasn't been any massive major changes, is that if you're under the retirement age for eligibility for SSI and you're going for it through a disability, trying to get SSI through the disability route, remember, you still need to prove you're disabled. You still need to get solid medical treatment. You still need to get medical records in and hopefully a solid doctor's opinion. And so none of that has changed as well. So what was the second thing that our clients could look forward to as far as changes in the law within Social Security?
Sure. So basically the second thing that we'll talk about today is substantial gainful activity. And again, this is completely based on how much you're allowed to earn and make earnings through work before SSA will consider that not disabled. And so the changes for that change each year just with the cost of living adjustments. And it changed about 3.2% jump from 2023 to 2024. And so for 2024, basically, a person with a disability other than blindness is allowed to make up to $1,550 per month. Again, that's $1,550 per month in 2024. And if you are blind, you are allowed to kind of have an increased amount of earnings. And blind individuals can make up to $2,590 per month in 2024. And again, that's before SSA starts to kind of look at your earnings and see why are they earning more than this amount before even getting to the medically eligible questions.
Right. No, that's great. And it allows people who are able to work part-time to earn more money or even get like a raise. They may not be working more hours, but they may just even get a raise, and it doesn't disqualify them for Social Security disability. And one thing just to remember, and obviously you know this, but so this is just really for our audience, but one thing to remember is that the core question in even defining are you disabled within Social Security is kind of at a fundamental level is can you work, right? And how they kind of look at that is can you work and perform substantial gainful activity? And so, they're not saying you can't work at all. They're just saying, hey, look, you can't work and make up to one, if you're for non-blind people, make up to $1,550 per month. So if you're making $1,400 per month, and that's gross income, meaning before taxes, you still might be eligible, technically eligible to receive Social Security disability benefits, either through the Title 16 program or the Title 2 program, SSI or SSDI. So that's great that they've raised that limit up. It allows people to earn more money and still pursue disability. Well, great. What's any other changes jump out at you from Social Security this year?
No, Peter, and I'm glad you asked because there is some things that have stayed the same. And some of those things include kind of for the SSI program, which again, you had explained earlier is the program that's based on your means, based on that total assets that you kind of have. And so for an individual, that's going to stay, your total assets limit is going to stay at the $2,000 mark. And so if you have more than an individual in total assets than $2,000, then you won't be eligible for the SSI program. Another thing that stays the same as well is if you also have a spouse, if you're married, and that's a legal marriage. I would also say that that is staying at $3,000 per month as well, that you are allowed to have in total assets for you to be eligible for the SSI program. So that stays all the same as well.
Right, for SSI. How about anything else? Anything else jump out at you within laws that changed for 2024 with Social Security? Like, one of the things that kind of I looked at was the trial work period months. For folks who are already on disability and they're trying to get back to work. So technically, I think Social Security would present themselves as a back to work program. Although, one could argue that the rules are pretty confining to get back to work. Sure. So one of the things they've implemented is what's called a trial work period. And you and I can deep dive into that later. But the trial work period, allows you to work a certain amount of months. And I believe it's 9 out of 60 that allows you to work over SGA and not be completely disqualified off your Social Security disability benefits. However, the 9 months, starts counting out if you make this year in 2024 over $1,110 per month. So that would count if you make over that would count against one of your trial work period months. But they did raise it up from last year, and last year it was at $1,050, and the year before it was like in 2022 it was $970. So they're allowing you with these sort of changes, and I love how you said it with the COLA adjustments, they're allowing you to even make a little bit more money and not being completely disqualified. There are also some changes. I don't know if you saw, did you see any changes? It looks like to Medicare Part A and Part B, where it looks like they're going to increase the premiums a little bit. So it looks like it's up to $505 for 2024 for Medicare Part A, and Part B. It depends, and we're not experts in Medicare, but it looks like it's gone up to about $174.70 or higher, depending on kind of the income and other sources of income. So there have been some legal changes. One of the things we'll link to in this podcast are kind of the Red Book within Social Security, what's new in 2024. We'll link that. And then we'll also link the SSA website where it shows the SSI amounts for 2024. But a lot of it, like you said, still stays the same. I mean, in a lot of ways, improving disability, we still, that law hasn't drastically changed. They didn't come out with a new listings where they've done that, I think, I can't remember, but in the last 10 years, they updated the listings. One thing that's changed too, from a procedural standpoint, is the time keeps changing, right? Like, how long of a wait does it take to get from the point you apply to the point you get your first denial, to the point you get your second denial, to the point you get your hearing, and going through that process. That's constantly changing. We're constantly keeping an eye out. Right now we're we're being told around 7.5 months on one hand from Social Security. But even more recently, a couple different agents have told us, gosh, the application could take as long as 12 months. And so we have seen some cases take that long. I think from a national average, it's about 7.5 months right now, which is up. It used to be about 4 to 6. Now it's about 7.5 to 9. And recon is about 6 months. But, again, you'll have agents, and I don't know what the agents base it off of, but will verbally tell you it could take 6 to 12 months is what they're seeing. I don't know if individual agents are tracking it as closely as the national office is, who's really looking at the close numbers. So a lot of times I'll listen to an agent, take it with a grain of salt, but really look at the national folks and what numbers they're providing publicly. And so we go from there. Yeah. But a few things have changed that have made it an advantage for folks pursuing Social Security to apply. But then again, a lot hasn't changed. Has there been any major changes in, Oregon, Washington, federal court level that for 2024? I know, I think they were talking about changing some filing, the way you file.
Yeah, Peter, thanks for asking. So basically, if you get through the Social Security system, what Peter's talking about going to USDC means that your claim has been denied at the last level of SSA. And if you want to go and appeal and file a civil action against SSA saying, hey, you guys didn't look at my case correctly. I want a review of this by a federal court judge to see if SSA judges did in fact make the correct decision. Basically, a few things have changed in that realm. So it's a whole different realm aside from SSA. And previously, just to basically file a case in USDC, it was $400, $402 in both Washington and Oregon. And so that's kind of a high kind of entry rate for a lot of our clients, actually. And while, we are able to do things like apply for a waiver for those fees, thankfully, I feel as if Oregon and Washington have recognized that it's still a little bit high. And so Oregon's and Washington's new filing fee is only $350. So that's a $50 change from $402. So that's a pretty big deal in that respect. There's also a few procedural things that have changed in USDC as well that are making it a little bit faster, actually, to get a final determination. So, we used to see as a permanent evidence disability that our clients, and on average, in the Pacific Northwest district courts, that a case would take about a year to get through the federal court process. But now, I'm seeing personally with our clients that we've gotten 6 months, 8 months for a decision. So, it really depends, obviously, on various factors, but there are a few changes that have benefited definitely the client.
Yeah, and yeah, that's great. I would say a couple things just kind of to remind clients. Usually, about what would you say? And we haven't tracked this, but I would guess 95% of our clients that we file within United States District Court get that filing fee waived through
Yeah.
through a process called informa operis. And that paperwork is like 2 or 3 pages long to fill out. It's very minimal. They just kind of ask, how are you doing? Are you working and making any money? And so the vast majority of our clients, obviously, because disability is related to work, you're not working. And they will double check your income and assets. But I don't know, Izzy, would you guess 95% of our clients get that filing fee waived?
Yeah, most clients do because of exactly what you're saying, unless, you've got a lump sum or you're on a DIB claim and happen to have inheritance or a spouse who makes quite a bit of money, then usually, your application to waive that fee will go right through.
Right.
So yeah, most of the time people are able to get that fee waived.
That's awesome. And when they're not, it's great that they've lowered the price. In many cases, when if for some reason, and if you're one of our clients and you can't afford to pay that, but the court is really letting you, making you pay it, a lot of times our firm will front that cost as well. So we don't want to discourage people over, like you said, $350 to fight for their appeals in federal court. And then I think also too, like you said, it's so great to see some of the judges going a little bit faster, like, that's 6 to 8 months to get a decision back, but it is so judge dependent. So
Yeah.
there are some judges that do take longer than others. And, I think it depends on their caseload and obviously what's going on in their world. So, but it's great big picture wise that our cases seem to be kind of going through the system, through the federal court system, and getting positive feedback and good decisions back from the judges within that time frame as well. So
Yeah. And, Peter, all in all, you're seeing these longer wait times in SSA, definitely from 23 to 2024. But at least, if you do get denied all the way up within the Social Security system itself, it does seem as if, Oregon and Washington federal court systems are recognizing that and don't want to prolong your claim even further.
right.
So I think that, yeah, definitely based on the judge, based on the district court that you're at, people are noticing that, SSA is taking longer, and in some respects, things are being done to change that.
Right. And just for potential clients out there, we don't just do Oregon and Washington federal court cases. So, we do other states as well. And if you're interested in knowing where you're at, just feel free to reach out to us and give us a call. You can catch our number and our contact information on our website at evansdisability.com. And I will link it all below as well with our phone number. Isabella, thank you so much for your time and putting some time into kind of researching those changes. Yeah, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Peter. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, for sure.